Hello and welcome to the Sensual Being podcast with myself, your host, Jolene Whiting. I have been a pole dance teacher for nearly 20 years. I'm also a yoga instructor, and my favourite pastimes are connecting to my own sensuality, connecting with the world, and connecting with animals as well. In this podcast, you'll find new and inventive ways of how you see yourself, connecting yourself with others, and also how you see and view the world around you. For this episode, we jump in to connecting to the elements earth, air, fire, and water, and how we can invite the connectivity into our lives. Hello, you wonderful, wonderful sensual being, and thank you so much, as always, for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have your company, and I hope this episode finds you and your loved ones really, really well, sparkling, radiant in their lives and your life. So this one is a special episode because we are heading into the time of Halloween, Samhain. It's a time that in our modern world, it's okay if you're a witch. Now, you can be a witch all year round. It's not really a choice that you get to be it at a certain time of year. You either are it or you aren't. And I would say that generally you are, because the word witch to me means that you are powerful, that you have your own inner power and you use it. Now, I'm not talking about voodoo. I'm not talking about black magic. I'm talking really on the side of like manifesting your future, making stuff happen. If you are parents, you've created life. That's magic. That's magical. So this element of calling, you can call yourself whatever you want. You can identify as a witch or you cannot. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's about embracing your own true power. Now, there are so many people that just don't do this. And I am going to be talking about rituals today, but you don't need to do rituals to create magic in your life. The magic is your heart beating every day, the same heart that you had in the womb. The magic is your lungs breathing in and making you live, giving you the breath of life every single moment of the day. That is magic. Now, in our modern day world, we have really been disconnected from our power. So whilst our body is still working in this way, we have been really disconnected from the magic of it and the fact that we have a lot of inner power that we can put out into the world. And this is what I would like to do this episode about, is for you to realize this sort of thing. Now, what I'm going to give you today, you might take some of it on board, you might take none of it on board. It doesn't matter. What matters is you have the choice in your life to live how you want to live. And I find one of the most magical ways that I find in life, I like to connect to the elements. So earth, air, fire, and sea. Earth, air, fire, water. I like to connect to the elements. I like to feel that essence that I am a part of this realm, not just living on it. I am it. And I find that very ritualistic in its own right. And there's also so many health benefits to what I'm going to give you. For example, when we want to connect to the earth, grounding. So we can have what's called grounding experiences, things that make us feel calm and settled, which are great. But when I talk about grounding in this sense, I'm talking about getting my bare feet on the earth, laying on the earth, putting my bare hands on the earth. And the more natural I can find, the better response I have in my body. So when you go out onto like man-made concrete, it's not the same as when you actually put your feet into mud or onto grass or onto the sea, like into a big body of water like the sea, we will get more to water in a minute, but like on the sand as well. I mean, how many times do you hear of people, they go on holiday and they have a beachy sort of holidays, they spend time near the sea, and they come back, they feel so much more settled and relaxed. It's like, yeah, you grounded the whole time. Like, when are you doing this in your regular life and for that long? You know, people spend the day on the beach, and people don't realize what they are doing. They're doing it and it feels great, but they don't realize the impact in such a positive way it has on their lives. They just don't seem to take this on. Because if you've ever seen any of the studies done where they show like the blood cells before and after grounding, and before grounding, a lot of the blood cells, they're all like stuck together. And then after the grounding has happened, after the connection to the earth has happened, you see these blood cells again, but they are all apart. Now, when they start to stick together and form, that's when we get a lot of issues within our bodies. So why is it not proper practice for us all to get our butts outside every morning? I don't know. It's beyond me. And it's something that out of everything I do, that's one of the most important things for me to do, is to get my body outside and ground. And I'm not going to lie, it is difficult sometimes when it's raining so hard. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to wait a little bit and then see if it eases off. But sometimes I just go out in my coat and I'm like, yeah, I'll just do it. Even if I just do 5 minutes, I don't have to do more than that. It's great to do more than that and you'll get more benefit. But if that's all I can manage in the day, then I'm going to take that opportunity over just not doing it. And when it gets to freezing temperatures, I like to wait until like the frost has lifted and then I put my feet on the earth. And yeah, do you know what? It's cold. It is cold, but that's okay because it's life. I like to be within the season as well. So I don't really like air conditioning. The only time I really kind of like it is in the really hot heat in the car, particularly if I've got my dog in the car and I don't want him or me to overheat. That's the only time I really like it. But if I go to like Spain, I don't like the air conditioning on in the apartment. It feels, the more I can stay within what the actual country is doing heat-wise, the better adjusted I am. And at home, I don't really like a lot of heating on. I don't mind the fire in winter, but I don't like central heating. As soon as I put it on, I feel all stuffy. My nose is all stuffy and I can't seem to regulate my own temperature. I'd rather layer up and move my body than to sit there with the heating on. So it's a real fine balance, but I do find that the more I can stay within the temperature of what's going on, it actually helps me. So even to put my feet on the really cold earth, actually I do find helps me because it keeps me in that type of temperature. But movement does help to generate heat, so that does help. And I do find a little tip for you. As we get into the cooler months, when you go out and you put your feet on the earth, if you find it's really cold, I would suggest keep your feet in one place, because you'll find that rather than walking, I know I just said movement helps. It does if you're inside and you don't want the heating on much and you're layered up. When you're outside on the earth, if you put your feet in on the earth and it's really cold, just wait, because you generally find that you can get the heat coming up from the earth into your feet. And no joke, those little bits that you've got your feet on will be warm, but if you move, as soon as you move, you'll step into cold and it'll be too cold. So have your flip-flops ready with you, have your trainers ready to slip straight back into them when you're done. But the more still you can be when you do that in the cold, the better it is, like the easier it is to actually carry on doing it. And also other things to connect to the earth are trees, touching trees, hugging trees. I like to put my face up against a tree, leaning against trees, sitting at the bottom of trees. That really helps. And one of the activities as well that you can do in your life, which is just very grounding in itself, is gardening. So particularly sort of anything where you're getting your hands dirty and in the earth, that really, really does help so much to connect in with the earth. And the earth is our body. When we think of like the elements and correlate them to who we are as a being, the earth would be your body. So to literally physically bring your body to the earth is incredibly connective because they're the same thing. So when we move on through this, we'll have a look at water, because we've already touched on water a little bit, particularly when talking about the sea. So sea, obviously amazing. Go to it, put your body in it, but just being in the presence of the sea, being in the presence of maybe running water, a stream, a brook, even a waterfall, amazing. Just to see the pressure of the water and how it moves, the waves that come in and out. The waves really do present the ebb and flow of life. You know, some waves are big and strong, some waves are gentle, sometimes the sea is calm. The sea is always the sea. It never tries to be anything else. It goes through, if we tie it into ourselves as our emotions, that is what water is like. So sometimes those waves come in hard and strong, and they would take out anything in its way. And that's just like us. That is just like us. When we go through times of turmoil, we have those experiences, and the waves, they shatter everything in our world. But then we have times of calmness, of stillness, times when not everything is happening all at the same time. So if we think about our connectivity to water, it would be very much emotion driven, and very much us allowing emotions to move through us like water. Not to hold on to any of them, but to allow them to move through us, because we are so blessed as human beings because we get to experience all emotion. There aren't just some emotions that we experience. We experience all of it. And that is, it might not feel like a gift at times, but it is truly a gift. It is truly a gift to have the free will in our life and to be able to experience emotion. Souls line up to have that experience on earth, because not every realm has that. But to be here on earth, we have so much emotion that we can experience. We must try not to demonize it and allow it to move through us, because we don't want to hold on to anything, even happiness. Allow it to move through. Can you imagine if you were happy all the time? If you were happy all the time, you wouldn't even know what happiness is, because we can't know what happiness is really without the darkness. And when we go through that time of darkness and we come out and we actually feel joyful, we feel joyful because we know what it feels like. So we don't want to hang on to any one emotion. We want to just allow it to flow through us. And that's our flow of life. So to connect to water in this way, it's very forgiving. And at times can be very hard. But just know that your life is a gift, and that will hopefully keep driving you on. I was going to say one of my favorites, but they're all my favorite. I was going to say one of my favorites is fire. Love fire. Fire, again, it's like waves in the sea. Fire is fire. Fire doesn't try to be anything else. It ignites. It is hot. It's raw. It's our passion and our spirit. How we connect with fire. I mean, we come into this sort of time of Halloween, and we're so close to bonfire night. We celebrate with fire. We throw in, we can throw things into the fire to burn that we don't need anymore. We can really release what we don't need into the fire. And we can also ignite into the fire as well. So we can throw things into the fire to ignite out into the world. And this is all about intention. So you have to be intentional about what you put in. So if you write some stuff on a piece of paper that you want to let go of, well, as you throw it in, you really imagine that that is going, it's being burnt, it is gone. But when you write stuff to be thrown into a fire or burnt by a candle, be very careful, by the way. But when you throw that sort of thing in, you want to imagine that it's igniting up and the flames are taking it up and into the universe, and you are basically manifesting it in. And it's where intention is so, so important, because you wouldn't want to get the two confused, would you? No, definitely not. But it is so, so powerful, so cathartic. And even when you just look at fire, you can look at the flames and they dance. That is our spirit. That's our soul just dancing in our lives. It's our passion to move forwards. It's that energy that we have. Fire is incredible energy. It's absolutely incredible. And when you really tune into the element of fire, it really does something to your soul. You literally feel like you are becoming the flame in your life. You know, why should you walk around all doom and gloom? You don't have to. You can really think about, what is it that I want? What do I want to do? What do I want to learn? Where do I want to go? Who do I want to spend my time with? And it really ignites these choices in our lives to help us like move forwards. And the other one I wanted to have a look at is air. Now, air, we can often feel like we can't see the air. Like we can't see it. So why should we be bothered? And actually, it's one of the most important. They're all important in their own right. I mean, with air, this is our breath. This is our life force energy. It comes via the air. It's the wind. We don't see the wind. You just see the effect from it. You don't see wind. But that energy is there. It is strong. If you stand out on a windy day and just lift your arms up in the air, you can literally just feel your aura being blasted from all directions. The sky, the clouds, we can really connect to this part. Again, it's very much linked in with spirit as well in my head, like fire is. But it's like the different part of our spirit. It's like our energy field, our aura, our energy field, whatever you want to call it or perceive it, whether you see it or not, doesn't matter. It's there. We have an energy field that's all around us. And sometimes, have you ever met people where you just feel like you haven't even spoken to them, but you know you want to speak to them because they just feel like they're going to be such a good person to be with, but you can't explain it. This is your aura. This is your aura guiding you. And you've met probably people that you thought, I don't know why, but I'm not sure about you. And you can't explain why. They haven't done anything. But your aura, the energy around you, the air around you is literally telling you, not sure. We want to be careful there. And it's just allowing yourself to connect in to these parts of yourself, and it connects you in to this whole earth. And I find it's very ritualistic, and I'm not saying that you have to spend hours a day doing this. You have to telling you what to do now, but it's just remembering that it is there all the time, and it's being okay with that. I mean, I went to Glastonbury yesterday, and I really wanted to find a certain tree. And when someone has found out about this, they said, what's the point in doing that? Why are you doing that? And I thought, why are you not doing that? I didn't. It's so funny because people are so caught up in watching the next thing on their screen in their living room, or going out to buy a brand new car and spending lots of money, getting in debt. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Why have you not been outside? It's great. You know, I'm not saying these people don't go outside. And I'm not saying if you do those things, that you are only one-sided. I'm not saying that. But I just feel like there's so much magic to be found in the earth. Why are we not all doing this? I don't get why. I'm just like, it feels so great. Why are we not all doing this? But then when you think about it, it's not our fault either, in the sense of we've all grown up in schools. Most of us have grown up going to school. And you go to school, you sit in a room, you look at probably screens now, but in my day, it was like you look at a chalkboard and a whiteboard. I was at the time when there was both a blackboard and a whiteboard. I think there's a lot of children now who never know a blackboard and don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, we've all grown up to, get in line. Only certain time you're allowed out for playtime. And then apart from that, you have to be indoors and you have to be doing this. You have to be doing that. We want you to learn this. We want you to learn that. And also doing tests, doing exams, revising. We've grown up in that world. So is it any surprise why we are all like we are? Definitely not. I can definitely see where so much conditioning has been done to us. And it's not even our parents' fault, because they didn't know. And they've probably grown up the same way as well. There's very few people I know who are my sort of age who actually did homeschooling. And if they did they do it for the right reasons? You could argue that maybe some people were homeschooled because their parents couldn't be bothered to send them to school. That's not what I mean. I mean the people who are homeschooled, and there's a lot more now being homeschooled. Hats off to you, by the way, if you're someone who does this. But being homeschooled because they don't agree with the system. And they feel like there's so much more to learn. I mean, when I come out of school, it wasn't until like a few years after leaving school that I realized there's so much that I haven't learned. The amount of times I've said, why did I not learn this in school? Surely everyone should have learned this in school. And there's so much that we're not taught, but there's so much that we're conditioned into. So when people hear that, you want to connect to the earth and all this sort of stuff and do rituals or things, they think you're nuts. But actually, surely should we not be thinking the other way is nuts? I don't know. But when we do this sort of stuff, coming up to like Halloween, it seems to be okay to do it. Now, I'm telling you, it's okay to do this at any time. And I do this all year round, particularly when you want to connect in with the seasons. The seasons dictate our life, and it's much easier if we've connected into them to allow them to flow through us with their intelligence. So in the UK, we get spring, summer, autumn, winter. And that turn of the season, if we go with it, we can really get so much magic from it. So when we come into autumn, the trees are a brilliant comparison to us, because we shed the leaves. We let go of things that we don't need. As we go into winter, the time of deep rest, the time of slowing down, we have darker evenings. So it gets darker earlier. It's the time for reflection and birthing new things ready to come out into the springtime. And in the spring, we sort of go forth with our new ideas that we've sat on, that we have decided that we're going to do now. Spring is a time for uplift. And then summer is your time for like full power, go straight ahead, powered by the sun, the fire of the sun. We're powered by that. And that sort of thing, if we can lean into the seasons, we get a lot more from it. And I'm not saying, okay, for winter, you just quit your job and don't work. But what I'm saying is there's a balance. Do you change your eating in the winter? You find in the summer, do you find that you crave a bit more like salady type food and maybe colder food? And in winter, you crave like warmer food, snuggly food, comfort food. And it's being able to discern when you're craving comfort type foods compared with just comfort eating and eating all the wrong food. It's making sure you know the difference with that for yourself. Because otherwise you just go into winter and just have pizza every night. And it's like, yeah, that's not what I mean. But I mean, like, you have like soups, casseroles, roast dinners in winter, and in summer you might have like more salads, more ploughmans, that type of food. And there is a difference because your body will call for different things all year round. It won't call for the same thing. And a lot of the time, if you tune into it, your body will call into what's in season and native in your land. So as we come into the time of winter in the UK, we have things like cabbage, Brussels sprouts, and potatoes. We call on those sort of foods a lot more. But as you go into summer, like in the height of summer, you call in things like apples and pears. And in the autumn, we have like more berries, we have raspberries and strawberries. You know, it changes throughout the seasons. And it's so delicious, literally, to lean into this. And I don't know about you, but right now, when I hear like roast dinners, I am like, oh, so ready for that. And one of the things I love making in autumn is butternut squash risotto. I don't really have it all year round. It feels like it's autumn. I think because it's squash and that's from the pumpkin family. And, you know, I think it's all linked into that somewhere in me. But yeah, so coming out to autumn, butternut squash risotto. Can't wait. But yeah, so I really want you to think about how can you connect more into the elements. And you can even do this in a ritual setting as well. So I like to call in the directions. If I'm doing a ritual for myself, if I'm doing a ritual for others, I like to call in the directions just to kind of really link into ourselves, that connection. So I would call in air in the east, and I'd call in fire in the south, water in the west, and earth in the north. And then I would also call in Father Sky, masculine energy, and I'd also call in Mother Earth, Mother Nature, feminine energy. So I'd call all of them in. I would also invite in any spirit, guides, guardians, ascended masters, God, goddess, source, any spirit who is here to help me lift, to protect me, and to surround me with love. And it's very important that I call in that type of energy because we are not walking this path alone. Some of you may have felt that if a loved one has passed over, that they're still with you. And this is the time to call in that energy, their love, their guidance, the support, the wisdom, because we are not alone. And if we can embrace that feeling, that connectivity to not only the elements, but to spirit and to the sky and the earth, we call in so much more into ourselves. And when we do this, it's very important once you've done it to actually release that energy at the end. So you thank the energy that supported you and to actually allow it to be released back out. And I like to still put a nice little hold over myself to allow me to still go forward, being guided by love and supported along my journey. And it's very important. Like what I do, it's very connective to the earth, to nature, to the elements, because what I do is not what some people would deem as black magic. It's not voodoo. It's nothing like that. It's very much calling upon the wisdom and the guidance of what is already here. I don't call in anything dark. I allow myself to sit in the darkness if I need to. So say if I'm feeling very heavy with really heavy emotions, maybe grief, sadness, anger, I allow myself to be with it, but I'm not allowing myself to call in that type of energy, because there's all energy all around us, but we have that choice of what we allow into us. And again, so much of what I say comes back to choice, because I have the choice and you have the choice. And that's the most powerful thing to get through to you today, because it's so important. But as we come into this time of Halloween, Samhain, know that you can do this stuff all the time, but it seems to be a lot of people take off on their little witchy journey at this time of year. And I think if you can make some changes, some connectivity at this time, and allow that to stay with you all year round, your life will be completely magnetic. It will completely change. And it's just so wonderful. However you decide to do this, and feel free to share with me how you decide to do this, because I just love it all. So I'd be so excited to hear your insights and your ideas and your rituals as well. So as always, remember to lead through your life with your heart and to live with intention. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please do share it with your friends and on social media. If you have the time to rate or review this podcast, I'd be ever so grateful. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at Jolene Sensual Being. The links to my YouTube and to sign up to my mailing list will be in the show notes as well. I look forward to speaking with you again very soon.